Good evening, good evening. Welcome to today's episode of the Roundtable, episode 2. I am your host, Johnny DeRay, and with me, my wife, Ramey. We have an amazing conversation for you today. We have some amazing guests with us as well.
Yes.
So as you are coming in, type in the chat what city, what state, what country you are watching from, what neighborhood. If you want to represent your neighborhood, feel free. Go ahead and represent. Type in the chat where you are watching from. We'd be more than happy to give you a nice shout out.
Yeah, so welcome. Tonight we are joined with some of our very own Sozo Facilitators. Go ahead and give them a round welcome. Thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, Sozo Ministry is our small group ministry here at the King's Cathedral. So we have a few facilitators here representing some of the groups that meet throughout the week. We meet almost every day of the week, except for Sundays and Fridays.
Yep.
So, so we're going to dive into the topic, but continue to write in the comments where you're coming from. We welcome you tonight.
Yes.
So,
So before we get started, go ahead and introduce yourselves. We have the man himself, Elder Victor Pereira. Go ahead, Elder Vic.
Elder Victor Pereira.
Oh, and share how long you've been involved in Sozo.
I've been involved in Sozo since its inception.
Which was
And so that's been a couple of years.
yeah,
3 years, I want to say.
yeah, I think
3
so.
years.
Yeah, about a
Coming
couple
up on
years.
3 years.
Wow. Time flies.
Exciting time.
My name is Nadia Cashew, and I've been involved with Sozo for 3 years as well.
Awesome.
My name's Kashmil McKenna, and I've also been involved in Sozo from the beginning. I was one of the first members of the DeRay Monday Night Sozo Group. Yes.
Nadia too.
Yes.
Nadia.
One of the best Sozo groups. I'm not biased, but
One of the best. You hear that? This is live, just to let you know, Elder Victor.
that is true. But most recently, I've been a facilitator for a brand new youth Sozo group
Yes.
that,
So awesome.
for
Yeah.
teenagers. So it's been a real blessing.
Way to go. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So we are so happy that you guys joined us. So before we dive into the meat of our topic, what we're going to be discussing, we want to start off with some icebreaker questions. Get to know you.
Get
so
ready.
People watching can get to know you a little bit better. So, want to start it up?
Yes. Okay, this question is for...
No, anybody can answer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just throw it out there.
What holiday do you enjoy most and why?
So since I'm the closer to you, do I answer first?
Doesn't matter.
My favorite holiday is probably Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving to me has always been a very favorite time, family time, time to give thanks, but most importantly, just being around family, and especially when you have family that lives outside of your current place of residence. It's good to see family. So that's probably my favorite time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I definitely say Thanksgiving as well, and I second everything Elder Vic said. I love food, family, laughter, creating memories, the preparation, being around people that you haven't seen in forever. Yeah, I love everything about it.
Yeah, that's good.
Josh?
Cash, you gonna tie it up or?
Well, I have the same reasons, like bringing family together, but my holiday is actually Christmas
I know it.
because I'm Canadian and half of my family celebrates Thanksgiving in October and the other half celebrates in November. So it's not really like a whole family thing,
Yeah.
but Christmas is the so
Wow.
it's all the family coming together, making a big meal, celebrating, traveling really far to come and see each other, and we get to celebrate Jesus, so it's a win-win.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, so next question. If you could return one gift,
Oh my goodness.
what would it be?
I'm gonna let Sister Nadia go first.
I'd return, you know how you get the gift baskets that have like the lotion, the perfume, and the bath gel?
Oh,
I
yes.
definitely would return that because I just never use the bath gel. So.
Oh my god.
That's a good one. For me, I remember when I was a kid, I got one of those, and this was like early 2000s, so this is when it was popular, those necklaces that have your name written on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, everyone who knows me knows my name. I don't need you to like spell it out in gold across my neck.
I can't believe Cash had one of those.
Right? It's a little too flashy for me, so that's what I would give back. But thank you to whoever, you know, who got me the gift. If you're watching, I love the gift. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Whoa, what?
Well,
You got one?
Yeah, if I was able to return, and maybe not one, but multiple gifts, because those gifts that I received that I would love to return, I received them for many, many years, every year. And that's tube socks, t-shirts, and, you know,
Underwear?
yeah, every year, for years.
I feel like those are sometimes the best gifts. But
Sometimes, not
Yeah.
getting every year.
yeah, that's true.
Not every year.
All right, I have a question. What would you do if you knew you could not fail?
That's good.
Do we have to give Christian answers? Because
No, this
No, this is
this-
like
Like-
in life.
Yes, in life.
like, would it be wrong for me to say play the lottery? Because if you know you're gonna win, if you know you're gonna win, I'll still tithe off the first 10%.
Good point, though, guys.
That's a good
Very
one.
good point.
Wow.
Very good point. I said that.
For me, go ahead.
So no, for me, I know one of the things like me and my mother want to do together. She's from Liberia, so opening up like a school, like a wellness center there. We always talk about it jokingly, but I think sometimes like fear or what ifs should put us get the best of us. So if I knew that we weren't going to fail, we would definitely put the plow to the ground.
That's so cool.
Yeah, for me, I probably would want to open up programs and facilities for at-risk kids all over the country, with each one being duplicated, all under one, one style, one purpose. Wherever you went in the country, you know that it was something that was created and implemented by yours truly.
Thank you.
That's cool. What is your biggest pet peeve and why? Well, I guess you might not know the why, but if you do, you can say it. Like I know for me, like people like chewing loud
Oh.
or cracking knuckles, which he does all the time. But I don't know why, like it bothers me.
Yeah.
It just, ugh.
It hurts you.
Yeah.
It really does.
So I was gonna say chewing with your mouth open, but since you kind of mentioned that, another one that comes to me is like if somebody bumps into you and doesn't say excuse me and just kind of keeps on going.
Throw some bows. Right.
For me, I think it's like when you're driving and people just honk just because they're impatient. Like you're not doing anything wrong, you're not in their way, but maybe like the light just turned green and they're behind you, like, come on, we gotta go. And I'm like, it just turned green. So it makes me want to be like petty and be like even slower.
Yeah.
I know I need to repent of that, but yeah, that's one thing that bothers me.
Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is speaking with someone one-on-one and their breath stinks. And people that are close to me, I always tell them, if you ever smell my breath, let me know. That's a big one for me.
Is that a sign?
Let me
of
make sure.
elevation?
I know!
Do you need a mint check?
Are you trying to be mints? Is that a
We'll talk after the show.
All right. What would a day off look like for you?
A day off?
Yeah.
Well, a day off for me would be just being here in New England. I discovered how much I enjoy and love being by the water, the ocean in general. And being a native Rhode Islander, it was something that I never really appreciated growing up. And so I've had and continue to spend many days at the beach by the water by myself. And
Nice.
so that's very peaceful, tranquility, and just looking at God's creation is just so massive and so awesome to me.
Yeah, I would literally say the same thing. For me, it would be like a lot of exotic fruit, lots of water, warm weather on the beach, and good music.
So for me, if it was a single day, it's a little bit different. If it was multiple days, you know me, I'd be traveling to go see someone that I love, family or whatnot. But but if it's a single day and I'm not able to like travel, then it would just look like maybe sleeping in a little bit, cooking something for myself, and enjoying nature in some way. If not the water, then just going for a walk, something like that.
Nice.
Good.
All right. So one last question. How did you come to Christ?
Good one. So
Short and sweet. I don't want to hear your whole life story. I do, but not right now.
Not right now. I don't know if I have enough time. So no, seriously. Actually, I lost my 3-year-old son, and it was his death that brought me to Christ, and it was a year after his death. And my rationale was, if I wanted to see him again and knowing that he was in heaven, then I had to get my life right. And that was my number one and my only motivation at that particular time.
Wow.
For me, it was my sister, my oldest sister, like not giving up on inviting me, right? Like I was very much in my own way, partying and just going the opposite way of where I should be going. And she constantly was always inviting me. And I was like, listen, if I go this one time, will you stop? And then it was that Sunday service that I gave my life to Christ.
Wow.
That's beautiful. For me, I kind of always grew up going to church, but it never really became my own like personal walk with Christ until I moved here to Rhode Island, and suddenly like, you know, no one was waking me up to go to church. It wasn't like nearby. I had to like get on a bus and go off campus to go. But in that process of like trying to make it my own, I realized that there were a lot of things in my life that I wanted to change and grow in. And I had a lot of really good support at the King's Cathedral that helped me to make it my own. And so that was when it stopped being like a family thing or like a ritual or a tradition and started being a relationship.
So awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. It was so good to learn a little bit more about you that we may or may not have known before. So just want to jump into the identity of Sozo. So is to be a committed community seeking to know God more through relationship with Jesus, the Holy Spirit, the Bible, and the church, and that's all catalyzed by increasing authentic relationship with one another. So based on that, how would you say, could you give some examples of that being displayed in your groups? How do you help facilitate that?
Okay, well, I'll begin. As a facilitator, I believe strongly that I'm not the sole facilitator, nor Sister Nadia the sole facilitator. I believe everyone within the group are facilitators, And I say that because when you define facilitator, it's just making the process easy. And so when everyone's participating and cooperating, everyone's, contributing to facilitating, the actual Sozo and making the process easy. So I don't, see myself as the facilitator, but I see myself being a part of a group of many facilitators.
That's good.
That's really good.
And I think too, another way to go off of what Elder Vic just said is reminding, whichever group that we're a part of, that it is a safe space, right? And everything that we discuss is right here, just allowing people to show up as themselves authentically, right? I think we can let our guards down and then be more receptive to hear and get into the word and just, see where people are coming from, truly get to know one another.
That's good.
To piggyback off of that point, especially with youth and teenagers, right? Like when they're sitting across from an adult in the room. I'm a teacher in my day job, so I'm used to kids like being there and like, do I say this? They're trying to say like what they're trying to come up with the right answer. And we're trying to create a space in Sozo where there's not a right answer. There's like your voice, your truth. Be yourself. Be authentic. And so what the work has been there has been changing from like this teacher-student dynamic to like we're all facilitators. We all have something valuable to bring to the table because we're all God's children, right? And so how do we show up as our best selves? Because we're not going to really get deep if we're all trying to find the right answer or the right Christian answer or the right, the answer that people are looking for. Yeah. If you're struggling with something, how do you find the safe space to say that and bring that up? And how do we support each other in being that safe space? I think is the authenticity is the word that stood out to me from that statement.
That's so good.
To stay on the topic of authenticity, what would you say? What kind of role has authenticity played in your small group? Whether it's with an individual, as a group collectively, what kind of role has it played?
I think for me personally, it's introduced myself to me in a way, right? Like this is the first time where I felt safe within church community to be myself, to have questions, to let my guard down, to let other people in, and a different part of me is attracted with every relationship that I'm able to authentically create. Right. So it's really been a game changer. And I remember when Sozo was first brought up, like I would have excuses as to why not to go, but then people within our church just checking in and constantly being that reminder. So it's definitely been life altering for me.
And I think just to add to what Nadia just stated, there's an atmosphere creating some intimacy, right? And being able to be, like she said, being yourself, but having that intimate relationship, right? And the closer that you feel and get to people, the more that you're going to share, and then people are going to be with them. But also, each facilitator within that group as they're authentic and sharing their story or whatever the subject matter is. And we found in our group where we have 12, 13 facilitators, right? And everyone's facilitating, even if they're facilitating their own story, right? Even if we're still facilitating, what it is that they need. And then they have, this whole community supporting them, and making the process easy. And for me, in just seeing that, how it all plays out, is like, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it takes vulnerability and it takes work, right? Like we can't, as a, lead facilitator maybe, you can't expect other folks in the group to be vulnerable if you're not willing to be vulnerable yourself. Right. So it starts with you, and it requires all of us to challenge ourselves and put ourselves sort of outside of our comfort zones. Because if we all, you get in what you get out what you put in.
Right. That's so awesome. So what is your favorite part about Sozo? Anybody? Don't all jump in.
mean, for me, I think it's the parts that like don't come from our material because some days we'll like it's the informal part that starts our Sozo group before we even crack open a book. As people are filtering in, just checking in on how everyone's day has been going, how their week's been going. Sometimes it actually happens more often than not. Like whatever someone's going through that day or that week kind of ties into what we're going to talk about or what was planned, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of nice, and it's also just good to get to know them so that a couple weeks later you'd be like, hey, how did that driving exam go that you were talking about, or how was your vacation? We missed you last week. Just kind of like letting folks know that like this is a family, and that's what families do. We check in on each other, and know each other.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's seeing each member of the group actually getting the breakthrough. Whatever the situation is, and we usually check in at the beginning, right before we even open the book. Any testimony, anybody, anything that they want, prayers, we'll ask for who wants prayer at the beginning of the group, we'll ask at the end, and there's times depending on what the situation is, we'll stop and we'll pray right then, But just seeing people getting that breakthrough, but also trusting the space, that it's safe, and what's discussed there is there, and it's going to stay there, and that comes, being authentic, trusting, and that's.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about community. Every one of you have touched on it a little bit. What has your group in particular, or groups that you've been part of, what have they done to show community living?
Like living in community.
I
know, but it sounds better
Does it
when you
mean
say that.
Does it mean anything different?
No, it doesn't mean that at all. That's just random. That's my wife for me. That's what she does to me every day. But like, so for example, for me, I would say last year, my brother passed away, and seeing the amount of people attend the funeral from my small group was just overwhelming. But then to even go deeper than that, seeing one of the Sozo participators weeping with my mother that she doesn't know from a hole in the wall, telling me, wow, that's what it's about. That's what community is about. Like when I'm hurt, you're hurt. When I'm joyful, you're joyful. So that's what I'm thinking about community living. It's not just a Monday thing or a Thursday thing, but it's life.
Yeah.
That's a great example. To piggyback off of that, I remember when I was in your Sozo group and one of our participants, recommended something that was going on in her school, and we all collectively brought in like undergarments for the organization that she was a part of. So that's one way, and then another way, Johnny, is like you said, like if someone's going through something, whether it's us collectively or certain people that are hopping right alongside of them to make sure that they know that they're not alone within their journey and in their season. So.
That's going to add or?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, like times when I think our Sozo group has done this before, where we would give out donations to folks in the community, gives an opportunity to talk about Christ, and just show, like, I think community service bonds people a lot because you have like a similar goal and you're doing something outside of yourself. So even though we check in on each other and we get to know each other well, we also get to know the needs of the community around us, and that unites us on a mission outside of ourselves, which I think is a powerful thing.
Yeah, that's good. What do you think?
We do.
Yeah.
So I think 2 more we can do. Yeah. Why not? Let's start it. Until we get cut off.
I know Nadia, you touched on it a little bit, so I guess you don't have to answer this one, but what is something that you've learned about yourself being a Sozo facilitator?
What I learned about myself as being a Sozo facilitator, what I learned about myself as being a part of a small group is that there's things, even though I have a relationship with God, there's just things that I need other people, my brother, my sister, to be in agreement or to go through, or someone to talk to, someone to share things with, and so I'm not out there, alone,
Yeah.
and so that's what I learned, and that has been very impactful for me personally, in having that, and so I appreciate all of my facilitators, and the most awesome group that takes place on Thursdays in the city of Central Falls, Rhode Island.
He just plugged himself in. Wow.
Yeah, you did.
Wow. You did it yourself. Oh, man.
555 Roosevelt Avenue.
Oh, my goodness. That's the other one. Cass, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think for me, what I've learned about myself as a facilitator is the importance of prayer. So being able to practice praying for other people in my Sozo group, and also trusting other people to pray for the things that are going on in my life or my family's life, so that if I bring something up, I know that there are other people who I can rely on and trust to pray with me, and that I, in turn, can be trusted to join in prayer with someone. And that's something that goes on throughout the week. That's something that's challenged me to grow in my walk with Christ, is just being more accountable in prayer to my small group family.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Shit.
All right. Oh,
One more. Have one more.
okay.
So to those individuals that are hesitant to join the small group, what would you say to them?
That you're needed. Come as you are. You don't have. There's no pressure. No force. I know even individuals that I've invited, they may keep their camera off, or maybe they don't say anything for their first time, and that's totally okay. Hey, I was like that. You know what I mean? But that you're definitely needed, and we're missing out without you for sure.
Yeah. What I would say is that everybody needs someone, and you're not coming to church. You're becoming a part of a small group, a small trusted group of people, whereas you could, be yourself, share things that you may not think about sharing or that you can't share in the Sunday service, because Sunday services, is to inspire you. You might not be able to share in a Bible study because you may not be asked any questions. And it's just a real relaxed environment, real relaxed atmosphere, and it's really all about you.
I think if I was talking to someone who's hesitant about Sozo, I would ask you a question. It's like, don't you enjoy being loved? Don't you enjoy being loved on, knowing that there are people there who care about you, who really want to know how you're doing, and not just to talk about you, but to really just genuinely love on you?
Yes.
I think that's what's been most transforming for me, and especially coming out of the quarantines of last year, the pandemic, right? That and as someone who doesn't have any family in the state that I live in, just knowing that other people around me love me and need me,
Right.
Yes.
right? Who doesn't want that feeling of being
Right.
loved, being part of something? I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's what Sozo has given to me, and I would love for you to experience that as well.
Amen. Amen.
Such a great way to
Wow.
close.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, we all appreciate you guys being here, giving your input. We definitely learned a lot, and we hope that you guys watching did as well.
Yes, we highly encourage you all to, if you are not part of a small group yet, to like our page, subscribe to our page, follow our page, and also we ask that you would send us a message. Tell us that you are interested. You want to be part of a community that is authentic,
Yeah.
a community that you can build relationships with. Like Nadia said, we need you, and like other Victor and Cass also mentioned, you need us, and we want to love on you as well.
Oh, and you don't have to be a part of the King's Cathedral to join one
Yes,
of our
that's very
groups.
important.
That's what I
That
want.
is very, very important. Yes, you do not need to be a partner, but we still want you to be part of the community.
Yeah.
So we thank you for for joining in today. We hope you were able to walk away with some valuable information, at least if not about our individual facilitators, at least about the Sozo small group. Again, we ask you to like, subscribe, and follow our page. You want to talk about next week?
Yeah, so next week, we will be having the topic education. So that's something to look forward to. All things education. So yeah, tune in for that at 7:30.
I know I'm going to be tuned in. It's right up my alley.
Thank you all for joining us again. See you next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.